Opening sequence with different colored graphics. TalkAbility logo. Now with Rainer in studio.
Ho qala ha batho ba bokoa hore ba nke karolo dipapading tsa lefatshe ho qadile ka 1948. Yaba he ka 1960 se di qala ho bitswa di-Paralympic Games. Paralympic e tswa puong ena ya Magriki ya lentswe la para. Lentswe lena le tjho hore ke o tsamaisana kaofela. Hantlentle mona ne ba ikemiseditse ho hlalosa hore di-Paralympic Games le di-Olympic Games le tsona di a tsamaisana. We have our 2018 Gauteng Sportsman of the Year with us today, Jacques Joubert, to talk to us about the sporting arena. He has also received more medals for his achievements in judo than I can fit around my neck. Welcome to the show, Jacques.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, you were born with a genetic condition called Stargardt's. What does it cause? What does it do? Please explain a bit.
So the other name for it is macular degeneration. So over time, my macula degenerates. Your macula is responsible for central vision. So my central vision at this stage is almost next to nothing. So I can only see from the side of my eye. So I only have peripheral vision, 5 to 8% vision.
When did this start?
I was diagnosed at the age of 9. And then from there, it started getting worse as I grew older.
So you were aware that you might become blind or partially blind at some point in your life?
Yes, because of my father. He always told me that it might happen or that it could happen. So I was always aware that I might be also going the same road. And when I was diagnosed, he sort of just mentored me through the whole process, and I knew that it's going to happen.
And one can just then imagine how your life changed around that time, because then once the condition intensified, that meant a lot of changes for you. You started changing schools and all those type of things. How did you handle that, and what did you change to?
So eventually I moved from a mainstream school to a school called Princehof in Pretoria for the visually impaired and blind students. From a young age, even before I was diagnosed with the eye condition, I was involved in judo and athletics, and then obviously rugby as a young boy. So I was always active regardless of my future eye condition or not.
And out of all these sporting activities you got involved with, it seems like judo stood out. What made it stand out to the others?
Since a young age, I've been doing quite well in judo. I think I've enjoyed it the most because of the fact that I don't feel inferior to others. What I mean is I can do the same techniques as an able-bodied person and perhaps better. And also, I guess performing at a national, international level in judo just made it more evident that judo would be the sport that I would excel in.
So, Jacques, when it comes to disability sports, judo is only done by the visually impaired. Could you explain why that happens?
So in judo, your body is quite important. You use all parts of your body to perform techniques and to move around, whether it's standing position or in the ground position. Someone without a upper or lower limb might have a difficulty performing techniques because you use both your hands and feet and legs to move and block and turn people around. We as visually impaired judokas or judo players, we only have a visual impairment. We only have our sight that's been taken away from us. So it doesn't impair us not to move and to throw as a normal person. Our ability to throw and to do judo is just more reliable on our feeling for the sport and not our vision. I think a person with a limb missing or with cerebral palsy is going to have a difficulty because they have a weaker sight in the other side, or the fact that they have a limb missing. Biomechanically, they might have a disadvantage more than I do.
And not to put out your strategies, but which one is usually your best move to win?
I think my groundwork is quite good, but as well as one of my throwing techniques is also rather good. But in this recent times, most of my fights I've won on the ground.
On the ground. Okay. Pele re ya hole ntse re bua taba tse ngata. E re lo bona bophelo ba Jacques kwana hale ha yo phela jwang. Shebella fela.
Jacques' trophies and medals.
My name is Jacques Joubert. At the age of 9, I was diagnosed with the condition Stargardt.
Jacques is training.
At the moment, I have about 5% vision. Before I was diagnosed with the condition Stargardt, I played all kinds of sports. Judo was one of them.
Jacques at a judo tournament.
for judo, you need to be mentally quite strong, because for you to be able to catch your opponent, you need to think and need to be intelligent about it. Currently, myself and another judo player, we are trying to qualify for the Paralympic Games in Tokyo.
Jacques now competes in the competition.
But it's difficult to come by sponsors because it's not always easy. If you perform well and if you have been performing for a while, I think you can try and get sponsorships from sports brands or any of the big commercial companies. But it's quite difficult, as judo is not that popular yet in South Africa. It's not that well known. Being able to compete for South Africa in any sporting event, I believe, is one of the biggest honors and privileges that one can have. So through sports and performing rather good enabled me to get an opportunity after school to go and study and to also have a job and be here where I am today.
At school where Jacques teaches.
Funny story, at the beginning I would never have thought I would have become a teacher.
Jacques with his students.
But being a teacher today, it's a privilege. Just to make a difference in one child's life, I think is one of the main things that drives me. Even if it's just something small, not even school related, if they come and ask you for advice or if you can just make them smile or cheer them up for that little while.
Thank you very much for today's class. Thank you for participating. If I don't see you before the end of the day, please enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Monday again.
Well, Jack, judo seems like a very physical sport. How do you prepare for that?
It is quite intense. It's an emotional and mental battle because it's you versus the other person. You can compare it to a game of chess because it's also a combat situation where you have to defeat the other to win. So we have 4 to 5 match sessions a week, depending on if there's a competition on a Saturday or a Friday. And then after work, obviously, I go to training sessions. So those 4 or 5 sessions, we build up to the weekend's competition or to the next big competition, which might be in a month or 2. So, and I also train with different clubs and different training partners to enable me to have different feelings for different situations.
And through your sporting achievements, you were also able to then attend university at the University of Johannesburg. And was there no way for you to be able to make a living through sports?
Of course, being a professional sportsman is a dream, or it's still a dream, but life happens and sometimes you need to have an ordinary job and still pursue an ordinary life before you can get to that stage where you are a professional sportsman performing regularly at the highest level. For us to get big sponsorships, the competitions in South Africa is not enough. We need to go overseas and we need to go and perform there to show to people that we are worthy of being sponsored and that we can achieve medals and that we can do it on a regular basis.
And in South Africa, what is happening to support you in terms of flights, accommodation, to be able to then put yourself out there?
Mm-hmm. Our Federation, Judo South Africa, helps us on a regular basis. So it depends. Sometimes UJ will help me with a flight ticket and JSA with accommodation, or sometimes only one helps me and I need to pay for the accommodation or the flight ticket myself.
Well, I guess you don't have enough spending money for the month because you always have to save up for these trips, eh?
But you have to make some sacrifices in life, eh?
Definitely, man. Ha re khutla, re tlo utlwa ho ngata hape ka yena Jacques le di achievement tsa hae tsa judo. Hape re tla be re bua le coach ya hae e leng Jacques Joubert. Yena he o tla be a re jwetsa ka di competition le di tactics tse ba di sebedisang ha ba le moo.
Now with Rainer in studio.
Ntse ke bua mona le Jacques e leng yena he sebapadi se seholo sa judo. Jacques o se a emetse Afrika Borwa dipapading tse hara naha mona Afrika Borwa le ka ntle kwana ditjhabeng. Hona jwale re kenyelletsa mokwetlisi wa hae e leng Jacques Joubert. Welcome to the show, Jacques.
Thank you very much.
Yes, or should I just say, oh.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yourself and Jacques have been working together for 6 years now. And how did that relationship start?
The relationship started at the South African Championship when Mr. Henny Pretorius, Sensei Henny Pretorius from Pretoria, introduced me to Jacques and mentioned to me he's going to UJ University and that I must take him under my guidance.
And what about his judo that impressed you?
It was the first time that I worked with a visually impaired player. There's not much difference between visually impaired and the normal judoka.
And as his coach, what do you think makes him a formidable opponent?
He works very hard, he always tries his best, and he's open for new ideas and new techniques that you can develop in judo.
And coach, in terms of the visually impaired, what are the classification criteria there?
We've got 3 qualifications, B1, B2 and B3. B1 is completely blind. It's somebody who's got no eyes. B2 is the person see plus minus 10% of his visual. It's possible that in that 10% it can be tunnel vision or peripheral vision, that he just see that little bit.
Yes.
And then B3 is got more sight but not good enough sight to actually compete against the standard competitions.
And Jacques, what is your classification?
My classification has been B2 for the past 2 years, and when we went to one of the competitions most recently, I was classified B2 for the next 4 years.
All 3 groups fight together and they qualify for 1 medal.
The fact that now the visually impaired and the able-bodied are able to compete together in the same competition, even against each other, how was that made possible?
Certain competitions, we use the rules of the IPSA, that's the visually impaired rules. They take a static grip and they start from that. But when you compete in the abled category, he needs to work for a grip, and that's very difficult for Jacques. And for judo, you need a grip to take control of the fight and to score your points.
Jacques, how do you then get out of that predicament? Because now you need that grip, and this person can see where your hands are coming from and is moving around to make sure you miss him.
Sometimes I don't, I get thrown. It's very often that they drop underneath me when they get their grip, and that's how they throw me. So if I don't manage that quick enough, they throw me.
Jacques can't see the scoreboard. He can't prepare himself because a competition fight is 4 minutes.
Okay.
And so you must pace yourself for the 4 minutes. So we introduced the idea when Jacques is fighting the standard competition to ask the referee how much time is left.
Oh, that is allowed.
And what is the scoreboard, what's the score on the scoreboard.
The Paralympics are coming up in 2020. Have you qualified yet, or do you have other games that you are using to be able to qualify?
No, we're not qualified yet, so we're still in the process. There's still 3 possible Grand Prix left that we can use. That will be Tashkent, Baku, and London. So those are the competitions left to accumulate world ranking points and hopefully qualify next year this time.
Well, my friend, good luck, and I hope to be watching you on the TV there as you're representing us.
Thank you very much, hopefully.
Ho na le mathata a mangata e le horeng dibapadi tsa di-Paralympic di shebane le wona. David ke ona o re hlalosetsa ka mathata ao. Ha ke re shebeng.
Swimming pool water is disturbed by David swimming.
My name is David Stephen McClopper. I am 18 years old and I'm currently swimming for South Africa.
David and his coach discusses his technique.
I'm on the journey of qualifying for the Paralympics next year in Japan 2020.
David dives back into the pool.
And I'm really passionate about swimming. I feel like I have freedom in the water and really express my freedom there. In 2017, I qualified for the World Championships in Mexico, and Swimming South Africa told me that it was self-funding. Costing was 60,000 per person, but because I needed assistance, I needed 120,000. So we had to hold car washes, we had to do TV interviews, we had to do radio interviews, and I had to stand on street corners for people to donate money for me.
David and his coach high-five after today's practice.
Yes, I'm swimming for myself and I'm swimming for my family, but I'm also representing South Africa and showing the world what we as South Africans can achieve.
Now with Rainer in studio.
Look, as we've heard about David's life and his struggles also to be able to make up the money that he needs to travel. I don't know if yourself, Jack, when you travel, you always need an assistance, or you can just travel by yourself.
I've traveled by myself before, but then I make a nuisance of myself asking everybody and all the people on the airport to assist me.
For visually impaired, you always need an assistant. You can't go to the competition without assistant. Because on the mat as well, you need the information. As a coach, you coach the whole fight, and you have to bring in the information of the time, the scores, and everything.
Well, maybe what you need to do is to have some security questions to ask people to also vet them out. Is he good or is he not good? Ha re khutla papatsong tlo bua le Samkelo Kgatebe. Yena he o tlo re hlalosetsa hore ho ka etsuwa eng hore di Paralympic athletes tsa rona le tsona di kgona ho thola tshehetso e ba e hlokang hore ba atlehe.
Now with Rainer in studio.
Re ntse re bua mona ka dipapadi tsa di-Paralympic haholoholo judo. Jwale re kenyeletsa Samkelo Kgatebe e leng semathi se seholo mona Afrika Borwa. Ebile le yena re tla bua ka ditaba tsa di-sponsorship le hore dibapadi tsa di-Paralympic di ka hola jwang hore le tsona di kgone ho atleha. Welcome to the show, Samkelo.
Hey, no, thanks for having me, Mpana.
Yes. Look, from the rant that we had earlier and the guests, one of the things we picked up is the fact that sponsorship doesn't come easy in disability sports.
Look, that's very true, but I think the problem is much greater than in disability sports. It is just sports in general, because even the able-bodied athletes battle with sponsorships. You know, so it becomes even worse when it's disability sports, because you don't even see much of it on television. So it's a bigger problem that is across the board. In my opinion, the biggest one is now at the moment is, you know, the economy at large. You know, because whenever companies are battling, the first thing that they do is cut budget, sponsorships and donations. So whenever the economy is not performing well, it's got a direct impact on the companies, and the companies value on the private sector, there's a direct impact on what they can give to organizations. So I think that once we get a more stable economy, then, you know, there'll be more money as well that the private companies can give towards NGOs, towards the sporting organizations as well.
And of course, I hear you talking about the private sector. And what is the movement like then when you bring it to the public sector?
Yes, from the public sector, there is participation from the government, but then there's those limitations, guma allocations, guma budget. And again, I suppose they also need to prioritize, let's say SAPD, right? When they get their budget allocation, they need to prioritize with this particular year, it's the year before Paralympics.
Yes.
Who do we send to go and compete internationally? Because when they compete and win, they open up slots for Paralympic Games. So when someone goes to a swimming competition which doesn't really directly benefit allocations to Paralympics, are you going to put money towards that? Probably not. So then you have to prioritize with the little budget that you have. So yes, there's support from the public sector, but again, it's minimal, and everyone is stretched, I suppose.
And doesn't this get to a point where it discourages talent?
Of course, it kills talent. It really kills talent. I mean, when I look at me, for instance, I retired at the age of 23. You know, it's pathetic. There's so many talented young South Africans who think, right now I'm in varsity. When I finish here, do I really want to go and do a full-time job, spend my salary in supporting myself so I can represent my country? Or do I just build a career and start a family? You know, we lose so much talent because people have to make those hard decisions because there just isn't, you know, enough support for them to have a full-time career as in their sporting code.
We in the clubs try to support financially the athlete. Then we try the district. Then we try the province and Judo South Africa and SSAPD and SASCOC. We go to all options to see if we can get some help.
The dream is to be a professional sportsman, but before I can reach that, I need to use my money that I earn from my job to sustain or to fund myself to go to the big competitions, to try and perform at the biggest stage.
When you look at SSAPD, for instance, they looking after all the grassroots sports, right? things only really get divided properly once you get to the SASCOC level. So SASAPD will have to look after swimming, athletics, judo, cycling, and Porsche. Everything has to fall under SASAPD. They need to manage all of that with one budget. And then once people make it to an international level, only then is SASCOC comes in to say, all right, there's wheelchair tennis, South Africa, there's swimming, South Africa. Then people only get divided once they make it to that international level.
This issue of incentives, there was at a time where it became a national crisis where the disabled athletes would get incentives. However, the incentives were not equal to the ones that they were received by the mainstream athletes.
We go and we participate at the same level of sports for the same medal, but I get less. So it means that you are basically being valued less as a disabled athlete than an able-bodied athlete. Yeah, well, now what they did, Lapayana, in let's say in 2012 in London, right? I mean, they also came out with the announcement that the gold medalist is getting 400, silver 200, bronze 100,000. And then it was a different amount for disabled athletes. And they tried to explain it, to say, look, when it comes to men's 100 meters, there's only one men's 100 meter and only one woman's 200 meters. But then you come to Paralympics, there's 100 meters for the visually impaired. There's 100 meters for the leg amputees. There's 100 meters for guys on wheelchairs. So there's too many events or too many disabilities for the same event. So we don't have enough money for that. So we will just try and split it and make it less money.
But also they knew from the start of Paralympics that there's various categories for all of those events. So they must have planned for it ahead before they could have came and said, no, they're going to divide that 400,000 between all the 100 meters.
Yes, no, I agree. There must have been always funds.
Yeah,
because why they, at that specific time, change it?
Before you even go there, let's not depress Jacques, because Jacques is he's still trying to get there. He's still trying to get there. But Jacques, as an athlete, when representing your country, what is most important to you? Do you want to feel that your country is behind you all the time?
Yes, of course. I mean, if they're not 100% behind you, then you're basically competing for yourself. I can go and compete for my club, but instead I want to go compete for my country.
Yes. Well, guys, it's been a wonderful time having you here. And thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your stories, your ideas, and also to be able to contribute to a broader South Africa that needs to develop in a way that is more inclusive, in a way that is more equal and fair. And Jacques, please bring back that gold medal.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words.
Ai, batho beso, ho no le monate haholo ka jekulena re buile ka taba tse ngata tsa hore funding for the Paralympic athletes e bohlokwa haholo le ha e ka be ra bona le bophelong ba rona ona jalo gore ke ntho e le reng e sa etsaleng empa bona ba ntse ba tswela pele ba shine ba kgantsha ba phamisa flaga ya rona ya South Africa. Libitso ke Reina Moloi, and we talk ability.
Thanks to everyone who made this program possible. South African Sports Confederation and Olympics Committee, Paralympics, admin at sascop.co.za, South Africa Sports Association for the Physically Disabled, www.sasapd.org.za, Disability Sport SA, 011 616 7576.